I spent an entire weekend in Hakone chasing Mount Fuji views and failed spectacularly. Hi, my name's Sally and I'm a travel advisor with chronic illness, and I help people with similar illnesses like me book nervous system supportive travel. And this video is an example of non-nervous system supporting travel, my epic fail weekend in Hakone. But to say a little bit more, because I want you to take much more than that away from this video. So Hakone is a very popular onsen resort town, so hot springs, about an hour and a half outside of Tokyo. So relatively easy travel from Tokyo, very easy for tourists to get to, and my main reason for going to Hakone is that I have never been to Hakone before. When I lived in Japan before, I lived very near to Beppu, which is the onsen capital of the whole of Japan. And Yufuin is very close by and also very famous for its beautiful lake and its beautiful hot springs. And so I spent a year surrounded by all of those fantastic resources and never had the opportunity to come to Hakone because I didn't need to. But I wanted to find out if Hakone is worth it as a trip from Tokyo, because using your spoons to get all the way down to Kyushu, to Beppu and Yufuin is a lot of energy and resources, and I wanted to see if Hakone was an easy alternative from Tokyo. And to some extent it is, but it gets clouded by the fact that Mount Fuji is there and everybody wants to see Mount Fuji, and it's almost impossible to see Mount Fuji. So in this video, you will see my journey from Tokyo, the beautiful hotel that I stayed in, and then my very fruitless attempt to run all around Hakone at different hours of the day, looking for Fuji-san as he is known in Japanese, and unsuccessfully not finding it. What I want to present as an alternative, if you do not have the spoons to go all the way to Beppu and Yufuin, Hakone is a relatively easy trip from Tokyo. Some people even do it as a day trip. Now that may be a little bit too much for us, but to drive there or to take the Shinkansen, enjoy a beautiful hotel, potentially some fantastic onsen, and the ambience of this beautiful resort town, absolutely fantastic. But I absolutely want to make clear that you have to know your intentions from the outset, because once you get to Hakone, the pressure to be on the tourist trail, to do the classic route as they call it, and check all the things off in the guidebook is absolutely huge, and we need to resist that. I had two objectives going in the weekend. One was to enjoy driving in Japan again, and particularly driving in a beautiful mountainous town, which is basically where I lived in Kyushu. And the second was to see Mount Fuji. And of course I achieved the first one and failed dramatically on the second one. I would recommend in hindsight having one intention, and that will never be to see Mount Fuji unless you are going at a time of year where it is incredibly clear and almost guaranteed, which is very rare. I would say if you have an intention for Hakone to enjoy the beautiful ambience, to get out of Tokyo and have some nice countryside surroundings, to see a part of Japan that isn't a sprawling city, to go to some onsen, to eat some different foods, one of those intentions would be a fantastic way to spend a chronic illness focused weekend in Hakone. And even if, like me, you are up to driving again and looking forward to a drive on mountainous roads, also highly recommend that. So in this video, you're going to see my unfiltered what not to do weekend in Hakone. Please do not repeat what I did with the same intention. Although a beautiful trip on the lake or a drive out to the skywalk would be fantastic things to do, just don't think you're going to see Mount Fuji. And I really do think you can have a fantastic weekend in Hakone, and with this one caveat: if you do have the spoons to go all the way down to Kyushu to go to Beppu and to Yufuin, I would highly recommend it. And if you're interested to book that trip, please reach out to me. I can absolutely help. If you're interested to book Hakone, I can also help with that too, but I just want to be clear on the different options available. And welcome to Chronic Illness Travel. Zero filter, all the frustrations, and why I still think it's worth it. I hope you enjoy. As one of my main intentions this weekend was to enjoy driving, here is the beautiful Nissan March that I rented. And then here is the lovely traffic driving it out of Tokyo on a Friday afternoon. Now, of course, while you're driving solo, you can't be filming at the same time, as I quickly discovered. But what you can do is film when you are in stationary traffic. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of a taster of what it was like driving out of Tokyo and then in a moment in Hakone. So with the Friday afternoon traffic, it took me about 3 hours to drive to Hakone, and probably about 45 minutes to an hour of that was on mountain roads like this. Towards the end, you can see here we're getting in onto the edge of the Hakone area, much more beautiful, single road, single lane, and beginning to get quite mountainous. So I stayed at the Hyatt Regency Resort and Spa, and sound on for the wind chimes in a moment. This is my beautiful room, and pause while I take off my shoes in the Genkan here. So I booked a standard twin on points, and I used a suite upgrade award to upgrade to this beautiful suite here. In particular, I used this very comfy couch a great deal. Lovely huge bathroom, reasonable storage space. Lovely bathroom, somewhere to sit down, much appreciated, and good counter space, plus the Dyson hairdryer. Decent shower, although the hose was not turned around and I did drench myself. Separate toilet, although no automatic flush or automatic lid raise. I am very spoiled. Then coming into the star of the show, which is the bedroom and these beautiful views with the terrace. So you've got two comfy beds, but this is the best bit. Those windows open and the mountain views and the mountain air, absolutely stunning. Yes, there is tea and coffee making and a mini fridge, but let's go back to these views. That evening I got my welcome drink in the living room, which is basically the main bar area, and they also give out vouchers for Globalists for free drinks every evening, so I had a 0 alcohol beer. Then I ordered some room service back on that beautiful terrace, sat and enjoyed the views and had a relaxing evening. Breakfast in the hotel is also included for Globalists with a buffet and made-to-order eggs. Very decent choices of both Western hot food, miso soup, curry, dim sum, juices, coffee, etc. Here's a selection of what I ate. Lovely, but just not as fancy as that Park Hyatt Kyoto. And if you are driving to Hakone, the hotel includes a free covered parking garage, which was fantastic. So the first morning I decided to get up early so that I could grab parking down by the lake and take a boat trip out on the lake, which was highly recommended. And if there were any chances of seeing Mount Fuji, this would be the spot. You can see it is really absolutely stunning. And a fantastic boat to enjoy, but spoiler alert, no Mount Fuji. where this arrow is where you would see Mount Fuji, but it's hidden behind the clouds. boat. There is some air-conditioned seating areas, which is comfortable. And for premium comfort, if you're not feeling great, there's even a first-class area. I wasn't feeling so great as we came back into the port, having gotten up super early and had a long drive the day before. So I was planning to get a matcha latte and then go to Hakone Shrine. But the cafe I was recommended didn't have almond milk, and I got in such a strop that I wound up driving to Odawara for Starbucks, which was about 45 minutes away, and then that was me for the day. So I came back to the hotel room and had room service again. Another alcohol-free beer, and then I took a huge nap on the couch for the rest of the afternoon. So Sunday morning I got up early again, determined to see Mount Fuji, and I tried to go to the Awakudani ropeway, which has a great view, but it was Sunday and the queue for the car park was miles long, so I gave up and drove instead to the Mishima Skywalk, again looking for Mount Fuji. So this is a beautiful spot where they've built a suspension bridge for amazing views of Mount Fuji as long as it isn't cloudy. It's hugely accessible, mostly flat, and a very gentle walk. You don't need to go all the way to the other side because the main thing you're looking at is right there. And spoiler alert again, I did not see it. There are, however, a ton of fabulous facilities here: restaurants, souvenir shops, beautiful toilet block, lots of drinks for sale in vending machines, and a huge free car park. So really, truly accessible. Highly recommend. I drove back into town, however, to find a quiet spot for lunch and nice free parking outside again. I was really ready for some spaghetti bolognese and a nice Coke. Then I took another much needed nap again, and for dinner I went back to the living room and got myself some fish and chips. So no Fuji-san views, but plenty of lessons learned. If you want to plan your own Hakone trip without the rookie mistakes, feel free to DM me. This is what I do for a living. And subscribe so you don't miss my next epic Japan fail. I hope you have a tolerable week. Take care.